Hey, what's up, YouTube and Triple T members? Jeremy Barber here, owner of Trade in the Trend chat room on Discord. There is a link in the video description. It is free to come check us out. So we had two end-of-day plays that we purchased on Wednesday and held overnight. I sold them on Thursday. I don't know. There might be some members still holding them. But that was CODX and WIMI. Both of them gave about 3.5%. Not bad for a last day of the week, since the market was closed on Friday. Anytime you can make it out, typically a Friday, and be green, then no complaints. We did have two plays that we were holding over the long weekend. That was MNKD and SRAX. So we'll see what happens with those on Monday. So last week's watch list that I put out last Sunday was another pretty solid week. We had one that didn't offer any profits at all, but the rest of them offered some profits, and many of them were over 10%. About half of them were over 10%, and about 3/4 gave at least 5%. So a pretty solid week. Here are the results from last week's watch list. All right, so as you can see, it was a pretty solid week. There were quite a few tickers on there that I expected more out of. VIAC, IQ, DISCA, and K. But didn't really get the bounces like I was expecting. They offered a little bit of profit, but I was really expecting more. But I realized about halfway through the week that these are going to be a slower recovering. They're going to be slower recovering. So it's not going to be that 20, 30, 40% bounce that we've seen from the markets. The floats are way too high, and they're just not going to give that move. So I am holding a little bit of my IQ position that I've been holding for about a week now. And I'll continue to hold that and continue to sell calls against my shares. I am about break even on the play right now, but if you factor in the calls that I sold, I'm actually up on the play. So continue to look for that to be a slow recovery. And there are a couple of tickers that I'm going to pull from last week's watch list and put them straight onto this week's. And that's going to be EVFM and then also WKEY. WKEY has been on there for a few weeks. They seem to announce news pretty often, and with the NFT craze going on, it's going to continue to be on the watch list no matter what the charts looks like. It's always going to be, I'm always going to have an eye on it because they can drop news at any time. They have been dropping news in the middle of the day, which is pretty uncommon. You don't see that from most tickers. It's usually pre-market or after hours when they drop news, but they're not scared to drop news at any time of the day. So with that being said, we saw last week's results, so I'm going to take you into the making of this week's watch list. Here it is. Welcome into the making of this week's watch list. I am using finviz.com. There is a link in the video description. Okay, so this is my normal end of day scan, relative volume over 1. Let's see, we got 9 pages. Let's see what happens if we go up to 1.5. Pulls us down to 5 pages. Okay, so this one was going crazy on Friday. We can see from closing at 3:55 on Wednesday to a high of 1581 on Thursday. So anytime I see anything that has a huge move like this, you see that it had a pretty large pullback. This wouldn't be something that I would have held overnight or over the long weekend, but this is definitely something that could be a nice day trade. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the list. You can see all the indicators starting to turn up. Float of only 1 million, so very, very risky. With that small of a float, you can see the average volume only 376,000. The volume on Thursday was over 146 million. That's a crazy relative volume number right there. Almost 400 times what it normally does. So again, this would be a day trade, but definitely going on the list. And remember, I already have 2 tickers that I put on my watch list from last week, EV, FM, and WKEY. So this one is another one that's been on the watch list. Look for a break over 12 on this one. Indicators all pointing up. MACD crossing the 0 line. Stochastics trending up. Only 2.5 million float. So again, very, very risky play. Something like this would be day trade only for me. Average volume 544,000. Again, that's why I wouldn't feel comfortable swinging this overnight. Gap already filled, so again, I'd be looking for a break over 12 and having an eye potentially on this 17 area. Okay, so we had extremely oversold. We traded in this channel, broke down, bounced right off of the psychological support of 25 right here. Looks like it's heading up from here. We played many charts for end of day plays last week that looked pretty similar to this. We had a potential reversal candlestick in this doji right here. Next candle confirms, and then a pretty large move right there. Float looks good. Average volume extremely low. And this doesn't really look like a day trade chart. Yeah, I'm going to leave this one alone. Okay, so we see we have this little triangle right here. Break above this top resistance, right about 4, maybe 390 area. So we got some support sitting right below it. Again, float extremely small, 2.28. Average volume of only 163,000. Again, it'd be a day trade only, but we'll go ahead and put it on here just to see what it does next week. Yeah, I'm not seeing much with this one. Huge long top wick right here. Bunch of bag holders. Anytime you see a long top wick, that's bag holders right there. People bought in too high, sold off intraday. This one, it is sitting right on 350 support, psychological. You've got this trend line right here. You can see we had a triangle, and this candlestick actually went from below to up above, pulled back, stayed up above. So let's see our indicators. Our stochastics were actually oversold. Looks like we're getting across there. Again, float is tiny. Average volume just barely over 100,000. Leave that alone. This one, huge move, back-to-back days. Long wick on the top. That's a, yeah, China Pharma. That's typically for the most part, any Chinese stock is going to be day trade only, especially the ones under a few bucks. Again, I'm looking for anything that is breaking resistance or anything bouncing off of support. So here we've got one that's bouncing off of support. We got support in the 3 range. It's sitting at 314. Indicators, RSI bounced off the 30 line, starting to turn up. You can see this line starting to flatten out, heading towards a cross. Stochastics not really doing much. We are oversold on the stochastics. Under 4 million float, average volume 290. Yeah, that's average volume too light. Again, just because I don't put it on my list, if you see something that, you know, interests you or fits your trading style, you know, good. That's, I mean, there's no reason that just because I don't like something, you shouldn't be watching it and can make money. I mean, there's tons of tickers that make money that don't fit my trading style. Doesn't mean it's not a good ticker. Doesn't mean you can't make money on it. It just means it's not right for me. Tons of long top wicks. You can see after every one of them, it pretty much started heading down. Here's another one, heads down. Another one, heads down. Another one, heads down. I don't see much there. If you are in here and you're able to sell on one of these long wicks, good. But this is something, if it starts moving, it's already too late. You've missed it, because you're going to be one of these people that buy up here around 10, 11, 12, and then if you don't have a day trade or you don't sell, you're stuck. Now you're officially a bag holder. RSI trending up, MACD line, we got a cross, stochastics cross heading up. 5 million float, average volume 230. Again, I'm looking for something over 500,000 unless it's just a perfect chart. Okay, so this was an end of day on Friday. You can see we had a little channel here, and we broke above this about 407 area, closed above it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this continue next week. Indicator, RSI going up, crossed over the 50 line. MACD we got a cross, trending up towards the 0 line. Stochastics trending up, huge float. Again, not something I typically trade, but the chart was there on Friday, so I'm trading it. Average volume over 6 million. So put it on the list. Again, many people in the room are already holding this over the weekend. Look for some nice profits on it. Okay, so this is a potential NFT play. We got this break of resistance right here. A little bit of a top wick on it. 23.45 from 25.75 area. So would like to not have seen that. If this candlestick just ended here and there was no top wick, I'd really be interested in this play. You can see the huge volume. We are starting to get to some overbought on the RSI, our MACD lines are way up above the 0 line, but if it's got momentum, it could definitely carry on. Just barely over a million float, or a million and a quarter, 640,000 average. I'm going to put this on the list. Again, this is most likely going to be a day trade ticker. Yeah, this is a shipping company. Does have a nice candlestick on from Thursday. We've got this line flattening out, starting to head up. RSI starting to head up. Support at about $1. That would be the psychological support as well. Under 4 million float, average volume 2.25 million. With it being a shipper, I've had it on the list before, and I had one shipper on the list last week, NAT. That was my only loser. I'm just not gonna. I mean, if it pops up during the week, then I'll look at it, but they've got to prove something to me. They've not proved anything except for their terrible tickers. All shippers: CTRM, PXS, NAT. There's a bunch of them. GLBS. It's a terrible. They're wrought with reverse split offering, and they're trash. Not to say that I won't trade them if they present itself, but they have to prove that they're actually sustaining some momentum. Fairly new chart. Don't really like not having a bunch of information. You can see our 50 MA just now started right here, because we didn't even have enough information. We did get a break over this trend line. 12 million float, average volume under 200,000. Okay. This thing had a crazy move from around $5 up to almost $60. That's crazy. I just don't see much here though. Again, another Chinese stock. Most Chinese stocks are going to be your pump and dump. It creates bag holders. You get a lot of long top wicks. And like I said, they're typically day trade only for me. Okay, so that was the breakout momentum scan. I'm going to go ahead and reset all this. Okay, so I want to find something that is, we'll say on the month, down 30%. We got 8 pages, and I want to change from open. I want to find something that's up. So that means it is giving a green candlestick from Thursday. It's down real big, should be oversold on the indicators, but looking to reverse with a green candlestick on the day. Okay. Doji candlestick sitting right on support, under 10 million float. $4 support, psychological support, and from previous price action. So this is one I'm going to go ahead and put on the list. So we see our RSI almost oversold. MACD haven't even started flattening out. Our stochastics looks like it could be starting to head north. Again, this would be a play only holding above this 4 line. If I could get an entry between 4 and 410, and then I'd have my stop loss maybe around 390, be risking about 5% on the play. What gets me interested in this is you see these huge, again, long top wicks creates bag holders, but you don't buy those. Right now, you buy on support with a potential. So I've got this doji candlestick. I'd like to see another more convincing green candlestick before I made a play on this. Okay, so we had huge volume. Again, on these oversold chart, the volume, the increased volume is not really, it's not like a breakout where you want to see that increased volume. It can happen on low volume. So we had this green candlestick here, and it just continued down. So we had one. I need to see another one. 25 million float, average volume only 165,000. Let's go ahead and change our average volume to over 500K. Okay, so we only got 2 pages now. Okay, there's just not much here on this chart that says reversal. Kind of in no man's land in between support and resistance. It's a 50-50 shot from there. EVFM, this is one that I already put on the watch list from last week. So you can see that there's a gap from about 235 to 240 area. Gap down to 183. We've now got back into that gap. Have the whole dollar resistance slash support right there at $2. We're sitting at 202. Indicator MACD line is starting to flatten out. RSI starting to move up. We got a cross on the stochastics, still in oversold territory. Float's right in the sweet spot that I like. Average volume over 4.5 million. So again, everything looks good on this chart. You can see that this $2 has been support in the past. It gapped down below it, just closed above it. So again, that $2 line is kind of my line in the sand. If I entered this between say 2 and 205, I'd be using that $2 as my support line with a stop loss, maybe 192 to 195 area. Okay, so came down, went through a little bit of consolidation right here, and we got this nice, pretty large green candlestick right here. I like this chart. RSI bounced off the 30 line heading up. MACD, you can see this line starting to head up for a cross. Stochastic starting to head up. 41 million float. Over, let's see, 1.77 average volume. Okay, so we've got this pretty large channel right here. kind of like a megaphone pattern. Megaphone is where your lines are slanting away from each other. The gap is smaller here than it is here. Bounced right off of this line, and this is all the way up to 8. That's a huge channel right here. RSI's heading back up, stochastics heading back up, MACD line just barely starting to flatten. Float is good, just barely over the 500,000 average volume, but definitely worth going on the list. What is going on with this? 66% drop. Sherwin-Williams. This has to be, I think this might be some sort of error or something. I'm not going to put this on the list because I don't know if this is real or not, but I will be looking into this. If this is a true gap down from 750 area down to 250, then it's definitely going on the list. I wonder if they split their shares. Not really seeing anything. Yeah, I don't know. I'll do my research and see if I put it on my list. Okay, so had a run up to 330, over 330, pulled back, and is now bouncing up off of the $1. This is another chart that I like right here. Indicators, this going up, stochastics going up, MACD flattening out, heading for a cross, float of 40 million, 9.5 million average volume. Okay, so that is everything that is oversold and potentially giving us a reversal with a green candlestick. So one last thing I want to look at are tickers that are extremely shorted. So I want to go to the float short. I want to go high over 20%. Let's see, shares outstanding. Let's go to float. I want to do under 75 million. On the float gives us 9 pages. Average volume over 500,000. We've still got 8 pages. Let's see. I'm going to go price above the 200. That typically means it's in bullish territory whenever you're above the 200, and that gives us 5 pages. We got a little triangle here. This one, let's see, we got 7 million float, average volume 800, stochastics crossing, MACD just kind of chilling, hanging out right above the 0 line, RSI going up. Again, this is consolidation right here, and you can kind of see that reflected in the RSI. It's just kind of chilling, hanging out. Same thing, MACD, just hanging out not doing much. So this one I would want to see it break over the high from Thursday of 342, and then you'd be running into this 350. So I would really want to see it over 350. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the watch list. Let's see what it does. Got a bunch of red candlesticks right here, and then we got this tiny little green hammer candlestick right here. The indicators are all still pointing down. Stochastics we're getting across. 3 million float. 2.4 million average volume. I don't see much there yet. Okay, so looks like we had a little consolidation right here, form an ascending triangle. The bottom line sloping up, so we gapped up above on Thursday, traded back down, and closed right on what would be the top of this triangle right here. Now if it can hold that, I like the chances for a pretty solid move. Float's good, average volume's good, all the indicators look good. Go ahead and put this on the list again. This one, 4150 area, I'd want to see it stay above 41 for sure. Where did it close on Friday or on Thursday? Closed at 41.25. Yeah, so I'd want it to stay above 41 and make a move up from there. Not too far off the support. Yeah, I don't like this chart. Okay, so this is a stock that I like for long term. 50 million float, 22 million average. So this one, I'd need to see a green candlestick or a pullback to between 20 and 20.5 for an entry. Again, these are extremely shorted stock and with the potential of a short squeeze. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that one on the list as well. Don't see much going on there. Low on this, 1183. It's up around 13 right here. 13. What's the low on this candlestick? 1250. So that's about where I would have this 1250 right here. 1250 to support. You're looking at about 59 cents off of support right there. Looking for a break over this purple. line, which it looks like it's just sitting right on it right now. Indicator's not doing too much. Stochastics looks like they're about to cross. 26 million float, average volume of 245. Another one I'll put on the list. I don't know if it's going to do anything next week, but it is sitting pretty much right on support. Trading in a channel on this one. This one is breaking out of this channel right here on a nice solid candlestick. RSI going up. Looks like our MACD is heading up towards the zero line. Stochastics, we got a cross coming out of oversold. Tiny float at 2.5 million. But this is one that's worth having on the list after this breakout. See what it does. Okay, so this one looks like it gapped up above this purple line, traded back down. You can see we have this blue line running right here, and we closed right on top of both of these. So this actually, Friday's close would have been a good entry at around 8.30, and then you have support at $8. Don't see too much there. Stochastics crossing, trying to come out of oversold territory. Go ahead and put this one on the list. Okay, so got to close back above this blue line, which has been acting as support. Dropped down and bounced right off of this 50 moving average, and we've now crossed back above the 20 moving average. Sitting, again, we're sitting right on support with this blue line, and then $2 whole dollar psychological support. And then I would say right here around 175 we have support as well. So we've got some nice solid support stacked up. You can see other moves on this ticker, you know, in just a few days from $1.50 up to over 300% move. Here on a 1 day from 2 up to 350, 75% move. So it has history of huge moves in short time periods, and we're sitting right on support. It's worth watching. Support here around $3. Broke below on Wednesday, popped back up above it on Thursday. Would still need to get through this. We've got all these moving averages here. It's going to be tough, but if it presents a entry around $3, I'd be, you know, 3 to maybe 305 with a support, or with a stop loss, I'd say probably about 285. It's about 5% below your support. I've heard this ticker mentioned with the new ARK ETF, so we'll see if that has any legs. I know they have not purchased it, but it does fit right along with what they're doing, what the company does. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on the list. It looks like this week's watch list is a little bit bigger than we've had normally. All right, so we got 19 tickers on the watch list. We're usually between 15 and 20, so good number there. That's, again, this is to go through, get your research done, go ahead and chart it out, have a few lines of support, few lines of resistance, look up any news that came out last week, look into possible news that will be coming out this week, and just have a game plan. And the better prepared you are, the less scrambling you're trying to do during the week when you're actually trying to execute trades. So hopefully you can make some money off of these tickers, or if nothing else, you saw how I went through all my scans and came up with this watch list, so you can do the same with tickers that better fit your trading strategy. Okay, so there you have it. There's this week's watch list. These may be day trades, they may turn into swings, or they may end up being nothing at all. What I do with this list is I take it, do more advanced charting, look up, see if they have any news that may be coming out this week, or just get a better feel for them. That way, if they do turn into plays during the week, I already have a plan together and I already know what to do. I'm not scrambling trying to figure it out and most likely missing it at that point. Um, so just keep these on your watch list. Hopefully, we can make some money off of them. And if not, at least you see the thought process that I'm going through whenever I'm putting these watch lists together. Hopefully, it'll help you whenever you're building your watch list for the weekend. Thanks for joining. Good luck and stay green.